the lineup change you had. Obviously, you have a couple new guitar players, and you had some people depart the band pretty much all at once. And I've always said that sometimes lineup changes can be a breath of fresh air as well. In the songwriting department, obviously Magnus Carlsen. I mean, phenomenal songwriter. What was it like to get him, in the band, and obviously the other guitar player Thalia? Like, what was it like to get them in, and what really prompted you guys to invite them into the band?
Magnus was always there, Tony. He was always in the background writing, and he just couldn't go on tour because his wife has a good job and
Mm-hmm.
responsible job, and he had to stay at home with the kids. But there was now the time came where the kids are grown up, of course, and he wanted to come back, and we thought about a three-piece, and that was always somehow not working because of several things.
Mm-hmm.
And then Matt was so ill, as you remember, as you also know,
Yeah.
that we just kept it like it was with a substitute on bass. Yeah, for the
Yeah.
tour last year. And the change, well, it's a sad thing for me because I was in between. But you can see what is on my arm, and this is also on my heart. So I'm not the guy who's just leaving Primal Fear because if two guys can't get along with each other anymore. I thought it's such a positive thing, this band,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be a pity to just burst everything and cancel Primal Fear out.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry about personal things, and I'm sorry about relationships we had on the road last year. It wasn't a really good thing still. And
Yeah.
I'm not the guy saying you're my buddy and the very next day you're my enemy.
Yeah.
But it came like it came. So there was a fight between two people. They couldn't get along anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
the other guys were loyal to one guy, and I was loyal to Primal Fear because I also like the way how we work. This is everything. So everything is so professional, and it's exactly what I want to do with Matt and Magnus, and of course now with Andre and Talia as well.
Yeah.
That we just want to continue the good things. And there were certain other points which I didn't like anymore with the old constellation as well in terms of songwriting. Everybody was invited, but if you are invited and there are no ideas, and then bitch about stuff which is already there, I think it's not a good way to work it out.
Right.
So there were several points, but I think the last things I told you would have been easy to work out. It's just one big thing which didn't work anymore, and that was not my decision in the end. But I stayed to my friend with Matt,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had to build everything around again. But to say, I mean, Andre already drummed the last tour because of the illness of Michael,
Yeah.
and he did a great job. So that was the easiest choice. And then, of course, Magnus was always there. And then we just needed to place Tom somehow because he wanted to stay with Alex and find his luck with him, with their kind of style they want to compose now. So I have to respect this. I don't want to bitch, and I
No.
don't want to say bad things because I'm not the guy washing bad laundry. I'm going to leave that to other person. They might do, because what I don't like in the end is the bitterness behind it when people start to invent stuff or find old stories and add something to it, which is harming my reputation in the end. It's not a nice style to do, so I keep away from that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember, when it was announced that they departed, there were a lot of negative comments toward it. I don't know if you remember what I had said about it, but
Absolutely.
yeah,
And I'm really thankful for that because you said exactly the right thing. There have to be reasons, right?
yeah. Well, I've been around. If you know anything about my background, and I'm sure that you do, I've been around where I've watched this, and I've been around this kind of thing. And sometimes too, it just life circumstances change for people. You have a business relationship. Sometimes that business relationship goes bad, and many times you're still friends. There's really no bad blood from anybody. It just doesn't work out from that standpoint either. So I've seen this a lot, and knowing that you and Matt have been together throughout the entirety of this band, typically in pretty much any band that exists, the guys that have been there the longest are usually the ones that, you have to make decisions to make sure the band continues on. And sometimes those decisions are both ways. You'll have I've seen people part ways in a good way. They just like, hey, I got this life circumstance. I have this opportunity, business opportunity. It's like, for example, one of the things that I noticed, positive things, is that Alex's other band, Voodoo Circle, I thought they put out their best album, and he was able to divert his energy into that a little bit more. So there's always reasons for that stuff. I always tell everybody that, what happens behind the scenes, to me, it's pointless to worry about it, and there's no mudslinging. There's no real bad blood or hostility. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't, things don't work out. It happens.
I'm just wondering what people are guessing sometimes, I mean, totally stupid stuff like it would be a money thing or something. They were really getting, if anybody would have been not happy with what they get, everybody was always invited to talk about it.
Mhm.
Everybody was always invited to join the company. Matt and I are a company.
Yeah.
So they were always invited to join and take responsibility, but that's the word, responsibility. So they didn't want to take that. So, and then we offer stuff, and they were always able to talk about anything. And if people come up with a rumor that it was a money thing, that's totally nonsense,
Mhm.
So, no.
Well, I mean,
and if people come up that they were not invited to write songs, no. Everybody was always invited to write songs. I know it was not hard, not easy when we were touring the last year, and then of course Matt and Magnus were able to work more because we were touring. But I mean, I also was touring, and I also had ideas, So if you are inviting a guitarist who lives 20 minutes away from my house, if you're inviting him to my house to write songs,
yeah,
and if you say him, hey, I have melodies in mind, I need a good guitarist, which is you. And he never comes. Or if you invite him to give his ideas and work together on it, he never comes.
sure.
It's not my fault,
Yeah. Well, as I said, music is a business. Bands are a business. It's just like working for a company and you have coworkers. I mean, people part ways. I mean, it's one of those things, and that's the best way to really look at it. I mean, I've talked about people that have left bands, and I've watched circumstances, I can tell you, that have been very, very bad, where people had to be fired in the past. I've watched people just, they're like, hey, this isn't for me. I have this going on in my life. It's going to interfere with touring. People are still friends. It's just it happens, and
that's true. Yeah.
And so I think people speculate way too much on what goes on with a lot of this stuff, because again, I think people were freaking out because so many people had left, right? And I think
I mean, it made a bad picture. Sorry for interrupting you. It looked like I'm an asshole, right?
yeah.
Four members. I mean, Alex the bass player was never a fixed member,
Mm-hmm.
But I like him personally. I mean, still, it's hard now because some gossip's going on, which is really getting too much. But it was hard for me. And then the statement was 4 people are leaving, which was also not true. One guy was fired, and 2 were loyal to one guy, and the other one was never a fixed member. So.
Mm-hmm.
So many things, and this whole cluster looks like, well, Ralf Scheepers must be a really asshole because 4 guys are leaving, and I was not even the guy. What's it all about? Was it, that's what that was hard for me. I was sleepless nights and weeks for me as well. Believe me.
Oh no, I got you. Well, they always point to the people that are still in the band. I mean, that's every band.
Yeah.
I watched. I don't remember which band it was now. It was recent. People pointing the fingers at stuff. Now, not everybody. Again, a lot of people want to keep that kind of. They just. It's one of those things where people are going to point the finger. To me, my thing is, what is the musical output like? Because when you have a lineup change, people are automatically going to get this impression. They automatically want to write a band off because they without hearing any music,
exactly.
It happens. So I've
But
just
now
talked
you
about,
hear,
yeah.
Tony, sorry for interrupting again. Now you hear that the style of Primal Fear, who's
Hmm.
responsible for this, right? So, and once again, I can only repeat myself. Everybody was always invited to write.
Hmm.
So, and if we have an album coming out like Domination now, and it's such a strong album as, uh, thankfully you think the same,
No.
then you hear that nothing has really changed with the music, even getting better somehow, so.
Yeah, so it's really good. I think when people hear the record, it changes their mind. I was talking about, if you ever watch some of my posts, I was talking about singers that people may not have heard of that join a band, and automatically everyone says, "Oh my God, the band's gonna suck. They're never gonna fill the shoes of this person." Then the single comes out, or they see the live show, for example, and all of a sudden it's like everybody does a 180, and turns around and
Yeah,
realizes, oh, it's really
not
good. So.
everybody, because as a singer is always so hard to replace,
Mhm.
and that's the reason why I also somehow lucky that it never turned out to be Judas Priest back in the days,
Yeah.
because you could never replace the metal god
No, not at all.
unless you're Tim Owens. But anyway, it's still different. Don't want to. That's not my kind of
Yeah.
business. But
So,
anyway, you know what I mean. It's always hard to
yeah.
replace the singer, because the original singer with the hits, that's the color of voice you're listening to, and that's not so easy. You can do the best job in the world,
Hmm.
even singing better songs here and there, but you never will be the original.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. Tim lives 40 minutes from me. I mean, he's from my area and
Hmm?
here in Ohio. And I'll be honest with you. I like, I was listening to one of the live albums. I think it was Live in London with him, and I thought he did a spectacular job. But the rumor was Ralf Scheepers might get that gig. What's the story behind that? Did you like
Ah,
audition for them, or
it's
you
so
know?
long ago. It's not even worth to talk about it anymore, Tony. In the end,
Yeah,
I didn't even audition. I sent my tapes. They
yeah,
liked it. Then Glenn Tipton did his solo album back in the days. It took years.
yeah.
And I
Baptized by
was so
fire.
and I was so honest to say to Gamma Ray, and that, of course, that was a point which was not so lucky in the end. Then several points occurred as well back in the days that I got out of Gamma Ray. Then anyway, but everybody's happy now. That's the most important thing. I
Yeah,
mean, we have Tim doing an amazing job with KK now. We have Priest with Rob back. Is for the fans the best thing in the world, right? So
yeah,
it's not none of my business at all.
yeah.
So, but people are asking all the time, and of course I'm answering. I'm not coming up with this.
Hey, everybody. Tony here from the Metal Command podcast. Again, I appreciate your support. Since 1998, I have hosted this show in one form or another, starting off in radio and now in the podcast format. Again, thanks for watching. And if you like what you see and hear on this show, by all means, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to be notified anytime I do post a video. And if you see this program on any other form of social media, please give me a follow there. Again, I always appreciate your support.